This is on dating apps, by the way. Story 1. Because they have had lots of practice at creating a connection and having great short-term conversations with women. Because they keep doing it with a new one after they have left the old one. Story 2. To be brutally honest, anytime I've relegated a woman to the friends with benefits or hookup zone, it was because I found her attractive enough to sleep with but not interesting or successful enough to be a real romantic prospect. Story 3. We truly can't say exactly without knowing you, the guys you're connecting with, and the nature of your interaction. But let me just sum up my experience from the other side of things. As a guy, you're forced to learn how to make conversation and impress a woman. Even if you don't know if you like her all that much, you have to be the one to drive conversation and create a sense of connection. Because if he doesn't, nothing happens. Women certainly aren't trying to chat him up. There's no women sliding into his direct messages. Early dating and talking are very one-sided in terms of effort and investment. He's putting out feelers, thinking of opening lines, trying to get responses from a bunch of different women. There's a lot of emotional labor there. Dating apps can feel like a part-time job sometimes. The other factor is that almost no single heterosexual male is having as much sex as he'd like to be having. For me personally, being single is just one long dry spell. My libido doesn't just shut off because I'm single. So once he's put all that effort and energy into creating a connection and conversation with a woman, there's incentive to at least get laid out of it. Even if he doesn't like her all that much as a person, she is still attractive and she's interested. Why not try to get laid? Some men are more upfront than others about this, but I believe it generally explains the process from a guy's perspective. Story 4. Maybe you are going for guys outside of your league. Men with options will hook up with people a few rungs down but will not get into relationships with them, generally speaking, of course. Story 5. If that's all they want from you, that's all they see you have to offer. Either you're aiming too high, or they see you as lacking long-term potential. Story 6. Your first issue is going on a dating app to find a relationship. He probably just likes sex and knows that forming a connection with a girl is the easiest way to get some. Being honest with women that you just want to sleep with them rarely works, after all. Maybe he didn't think you were attractive enough or didn't like something about your personality. I can't answer his exact reasoning with no information. Story 7. The connection you feel has been deliberately orchestrated by the guy, by the sounds of it, to get into your pants after you feel that way. Brutal, and I'm sorry, but it sounds like they trick you. Don't discount the fact that the connection might just be inside your head, and these people are manipulators. Story 8. The truth is most likely that men, just like women, have an open mind and are open to possibilities when they meet someone. Down the line, we all figure out what is possible and realistic. That can happen before or after sex. That can happen before or after connection and great conversation. Men, just like women, are capable of changing their minds and adapting their wants and needs to the reality they exist in. Claiming men only want hookups is misandry, out of touch with reality, and really just trying to avoid accountability. Story 9. Because you're on dating apps, what's the phrase? Men look for love or sex. Women look for validation. It's not as if many people have high expectations of dating apps. Story 10. Most men and women on dating applications, even those looking for a relationship, have unrealistic expectations in a partner and think they deserve only the most attractive or wealthiest individuals. They treat everyone else like a hookup while they window shop for the next appealing thing. Story 11. Because they don't know you and just want to be with you because they think you're attractive. I don't know why this is a hard concept for women to understand. How interesting and special do you think you are to a random stranger you just met and had no real reason to talk to you? It's not like it's family or work related. They just tell you things you want to hear because they know you'll accept it and fall for it. What connection do you have? You barely know this person. Story 12. I tell you the truth from the other side. Dating applications make it impossible to have matches that you find extremely attractive. You meet a girl from the dating application. She is already overestimating her attractiveness. Now that's all not bad. She is still cute and all, but there is no way I will go out of my way to make her life heaven if she isn't a 10 out of 10 in character. Well, that's what they usually want, though. Lots of romance and commitment to reassure them. Men live in the modern dating world too, however, and are aware that there are options and how easily dismissible they are. We are usually decent at talking and flirting. Even the worst ones are better at conversations than most women just because it's the only way for a man to be desirable if he is not very attractive. So, yes, the last few women I dated were crushing hard on me, wanted a relationship pretty early, and showed signs of love. I want all of this, but I need way more time when it's all effort from me and not that much from the women. Story 13. Dating applications can be a mixed bag. Some guys are just looking for a fling, while others might not know what they want or are not being upfront about it. Do not sweat it if things do not click. Not every connection has to be a home run. Just be clear about what you are looking for and keep swiping if it is not a match. Story 14. It's not an actual connection. Knowing how to engage people in conversation and actually connecting with them are two entirely different things. Salespeople only want to talk to you because you're potentially adding money to their wallet. Their job is literally convincing you their product is the best. If they don't think you're going to buy their product, they will not give you the time of day. Life's not a fairy tale. Real connection takes time and effort. It might not be there on the first date. It might not be there on the second, but it still might be there. Story 15. They are giving you a fake connection and have great conversation because they have game and are using it on you to get themselves laid. It's all fake if they are looking to simply get laid. You are being played for your body. Just never give them sex until you know it's the right person. Story 16. I don't want to come off as blaming you, but bear with me. Speaking from my experience, I tend to attract a particular type of woman that is bad for me. The only common denominator in all these relationships was me. I've been single for some time and am trying to work on why this is. My point is, try to figure out what you are doing that attracts these sorts of men. Story 17, because if you're interested in them, you're likely talking about the same handful of guys that every other woman on dating apps is already involved with. They don't need to do anything serious. The women willing to hook up just keep coming. Story 18. This has nothing to do with leagues or looks. It entirely has to do with the men you are selecting. Men who are hookup-oriented use these same tactics on women within their league and settle down when they simply feel like it. Often with women, people don't expect them to select. This is part of the course of using online dating. It is mainly a way to secure hookups and not the best place to find long-term stability, as there is no vetting process by virtue of them being strangers. You are better off meeting men through friends, hobby groups, and work because you'll have some basic connection and a way of validating who they are. Story 19. 1. The guy is attractive, so your standard for a connection and great conversation is automatically lowered. 2. He wants to hook up, so he has no issue telling you what you want to hear, which you perceive as a connection and great conversation. Story 20. Women control hookup culture. Women get to say yes or no, that's full control. The man has to seek and ask. Women have therefore taught these guys you are referring to that they can behave this way with success. Dating apps focus on this behavior. You are seeking men in the wrong place and perhaps going after the wrong men. The movement to lift women's self-esteem over the last few decades has been awesome, but it has now morphed into every girl actually believing she is a 10 out of 10. This leads women to feel justified in making themselves available only to the men who are in the top 10%. They also get the ick for the remaining 90% and label them creeps for approaching them. That's very destructive. So perhaps your confusion is from a combination of things. Perhaps you need to do the classic join clubs and socialize with friend groups to meet a wider range of guys. Perhaps you should also look at yourself differently and consider the other 90% of guys. I personally admire your being a virgin. It shows great self-worth, focus, and a plan for your life. Do not give up these values just to meet guys. Good guys will be impressed. Remember, the top 10% of guys have women continuously beating upon their doors like waves hitting the beach. Of course, these guys will use this abundance for their own pleasure. Of course, these guys will manipulate women for sex because if you won't give him sex, there is someone else waiting to instantly replace you. Story 21. 1. If you're talking about Tinder, it is a hookup app. Every other week, there's a different girl asking why guys on hookup apps are looking for hookups when the real question is why are all these women looking for relationships on an app that is literally push button if attractive? Age? You're 23, they're probably around 23. Nobody is trying to settle down at that age. Sex is a service men have an immense demand for, and women offer little supply. That means guys will go to great lengths to get it. Even very attractive guys will still go below their level and hook up with average women, but they'll never date one. Assuming you're not unattractive or have severe birth defects, you have guys interested in you. What happened to those? You don't get to complain about loneliness while not giving a chance to the guys throwing themselves at your feet. Now for real solutions. 1. Go to church. That's where all the guys who want to settle down are. Work on yourself. Prince Charming won't settle for you unless you're a princess yourself. Ignore all that "you're perfect the way you are" nonsense that people give you. Nobody is perfect. There is always room for improvement. The more attractive and interesting you are, the more guys will want you. Approach guys. Your sample is biased because you're only talking to guys from apps. Approach someone at the mall, at the grocery store, college, etc. Because guess what? Guys have been told for the past 15 years that if you approach women, you're harassing them. So the most respectful and considerate ones are precisely the ones that will never approach you. You have to come to them. If all else fails, get a friend with benefits. You're already starting at the friend stage, so there's some compatibility. The vast majority of such arrangements end because at least one party develops feelings for the other. Even a guy with plenty of options will prefer a stable partner, as that requires far less effort than constantly wooing new people. If you really want to tie down one of those guys that you had a connection with, this would be the way. Not the romantic thing you wanted, not a hookup either. Call it a moderate middle ground with a high chance of evolving into what you want. Women have this crazy idea that dating comes down to sitting around waiting for the perfect man to fall from the sky and be in love with them. The very idea of the connection is flawed, as can be seen by how easy it is for experienced guys to fake it. So I'm giving you the same advice guys give other guys instead. Work on yourself, go where the people you want are. Take the initiative. Story 22. So the thing is, all guys want to hook up. But wanting to hook up doesn't always mean just hook up. It is just the first step. Women want to jump to a relationship and lock men down. Guys want to be sure we are going to enjoy every aspect of our relationship because, to be frank, too many of us have been burned going along with what women want. Story 23. They can relax when talking to you, thus creating this connection exactly because they do not want anything long-term, so there is no pressure on them. The ones having difficulties connecting are very concerned about losing you, and they need more time for this connection to happen. Story 24. It's either you're being too choosy, attractive, wealthy guys have options and don't want to settle because it's also probably B, you don't have that great of a personality. Usually when a woman complains men only want sex, it's kind of a cell phone because apparently she's admitting that sex is the coolest thing about her. Story 25. It's not them, it is you. Your choices are poor. My guess is you have a high standard for who you date, but those men have so many choices, why should they settle down with you? Story 26. The connection was never real. They are probably just saying whatever you want to hear to form this connection you think you have with them, but in reality there is nothing. Men will say anything to get what they want. Story 27. I texted a guy not that long ago. We hung out a few times, and about 2 months in, I asked him what he wanted. If he wanted to be friends with benefits or have an actual relationship. I was cool with either, but I did not tell him that. He said he wanted a relationship, and about a month later, he said he was young and could not be tied down. Dating culture has changed a lot. Story 28, because they expect that's all that you have been doing in the past. No guy is going to invest in a relationship with a girl that he thinks might be run through. Story 29, because they have options. Why only have a chocolate bar for the rest of your life when you could have the whole candy store? Or at least that's what I assume the way of thinking is. Story 30. Because that doesn't equal a woman that he wants to commit to. I know it's shocking, but men require more to commit to a woman than women need to have sex with a man. Story 31. Because it's not a real situation. There is so much left out when people only meet online that it's mainly a game now to get laid. There is such a thing as chemistry when you're physically present with someone, body language, how they treat other people, the way they smile, facial expressions. A lot is missing within dating apps. Story 32. In my experience, a great connection is often one-sided for the woman. If you feel that two people are well connected, and then one person makes a fling out of the other before a relationship can develop, they are not well connected. Dating is exhausting for men. Try to be more and you will get more. But don't assume that alone will absolve you of the responsibility to filter out time wasters. No matter how good of a man or woman you are, there will always be people ready to waste your time. It just happens that boring women seem to run into time wasters a lot because they don't seem to value their own.